A quiet Sunday morning, a mother of two, a woman admired for her strength and kindness, set out to do something she loved, riding her bike through the mountain trails. But somewhere along that path, the routine shattered. Her bicycle was later found tossed against the rocks. Her helmet abandoned miles away, and she was gone. What began as a search for a missing wife quickly spiraled into one of Colorado's most baffling and controversial mysteries. One that exposed hidden secrets, raised haunting questions, and would divide an entire family. Suzanne Morphew was born on April 30th, 1971, in the small city of Alexandria, Indiana. Her childhood was calm and steady, spent alongside her parents, her brother Andrew, and her sister Melinda. Life in Alexandria moved at a gentle pace, and Suzanne grew up surrounded by family values and a sense of community. During high school, her world changed when she met a classmate named Barry Morphew. At the time, Suzanne was competing for the title of prom queen. While Barry had already gained recognition as a talented baseball player, his skills on the field took him far enough to be noticed by a professional team. Their romance blossomed quickly, but just as his dreams were taking flight, a serious injury ended Barry's chances of making it to the big leagues. Despite that setback, the couple stayed together. After graduation, both attended the same university, and by 1994, they were married. Barry started his own landscaping business, while Suzanne became a high school teacher. He was known as a rugged outdoorsman, a passionate hunter, and someone who fit the image of a hard-working, tough provider. Together, they welcomed two daughters, Mallory and Macy. Suzanne stepped into motherhood wholeheartedly, putting her family at the center of her life. In 2018, the family decided to relocate to Colorado. The move, they told friends, was meant to bring them closer to their eldest daughter, Mallory, who had just begun college. From the outside, their family seemed picture perfect. Two beautiful daughters, financial stability, and smiling photographs that painted a portrait of happiness. Suzanne, however, was more than a devoted mother. She was also a survivor, having beaten cancer twice. Colorado gave her a chance to embrace something new, mountain biking. It became her passion. Pictures from those years show her glowing, fit, and full of life, riding through the rugged landscapes. Friends described her as genuinely kind, almost too perfect, someone who always radiated warmth and positivity. By 2020, with Macy nearing the end of high school, the couple stood at the threshold of a new chapter. But that spring would take a dark turn. On Saturday, May 9th, 2020, Barry seemed to be in unusually good spirits. Though their marriage had faced its share of strain, the evening passed peacefully. The next morning, May 10th, Mother's Day, he left early for a construction job in a nearby town. Their daughters, Mallory and Macy, were away on a camping trip together. Suzanne decided to spend the day doing what she loved most, cycling. But after leaving the house, she was never seen again. Hours passed, and her absence became worrying. A neighbor noticed her car was still parked at home, but Suzanne hadn't returned. The same neighbor later searched for her bicycle, but found nothing and eventually contacted Barry, who urged her to call emergency services. Police arrived quickly. Later, they located Suzanne's bicycle at the bottom of a nearby embankment, propped awkwardly against some rocks. Given her relative inexperience with mountain biking, an accident was one possibility. Still, investigators questioned the scene. If she had crashed, They reasoned she would have been injured, but not simply gone. A large-scale search began. Meanwhile, Barry did not return home immediately. Instead, he stopped to drop off tools for his work crew, including a shovel, and arranged hotel rooms for his colleagues. Only after 6 o'clock in the evening did he drive back toward home. On the way, he spoke with deputies who informed him that his wife's bicycle had been recovered. By the time Barry reached the scene close to 9 at night, he appeared shaken. Mallory and Macy were back home by then, but there was still no sign of their mother. Police examined the Morphew residence and found everything in order. No forced entry, no broken windows, and no sign of a struggle. Days later, a chilling discovery was made. Suzanne's bike helmet lying more than a mile away along the side of a highway. Investigators considered the possibility that it had been tossed from a moving vehicle. That detail shifted the focus. The case no longer looked like a cycling accident. It pointed to something far more sinister. Suzanne may have been taken against her will. In the days that followed Suzanne's disappearance, Barry made a public plea through social media. He appeared in a heartfelt video asking for his wife's safe return and promising that the family would do whatever it took to bring her home. Alongside his message, a hotline number for the FBI was displayed along with the announcement of a $100,000 reward for any information that could help. That amount was later doubled to $200,000. To investigators, Barry recounted the details of the night before Suzanne went missing. He insisted that everything between them had been perfect. They had enjoyed dinner together, shared intimacy, and gone to bed early. According to him, he set his alarm for 4:30 a.m. on Sunday, and around 5:00 a.m., he claimed he saw Suzanne for the last time, still asleep. He didn't want to wake her. He then drove more than 160 miles to a town near Denver, where he had a job scheduled. Later that morning, both Barry and his daughters sent Suzanne Mother's Day messages, but none were ever answered. To Suzanne's siblings, Andrew and Melinda, this was immediately troubling. They couldn't understand why Suzanne's daughters weren't spending such a special day with their mother, especially knowing she had no other plans. One neighbor, who ran his own video channel on social media, decided to launch his own investigation. He began recording Barry secretly near the spot where Suzanne's bicycle had been found. In one of these recordings, Barry shared his personal theory that Suzanne might have been attacked by a mountain lion. But wildlife experts and police quickly dismissed the idea. An animal attack would have left behind blood, drag marks, or clear signs of a struggle. None of that was present. This pushed investigators to question something far more unsettling. Had Suzanne even gone for a bike ride that morning at all? Their doubts grew stronger when Suzanne's sunglasses, hydration pack, driver's license, and credit cards were all discovered inside her car. Only her phone remained missing. Barry, meanwhile, continued cooperating with authorities, meeting with them frequently whenever asked. Yet, the first significant lead did not come from him. Instead, it surfaced during a search of the Morphew home exactly 10 days after the investigation began. Inside the master bedroom, detectives discovered a peculiar device, something straight out of a spy film. It looked like an ordinary pen, but it was in fact a hidden recorder. Investigators later learned that Suzanne had been given this pen with the intention of recording Barry in hopes of uncovering whether he was having an affair. But instead of catching her husband, the pen captured something else entirely. recordings of Suzanne herself in conversation with another man. That man was identified only as Jeff. From the recordings, it became clear that Suzanne was having an affair. This revelation introduced a dramatic new twist. Could Jeff have played a role in Suzanne's disappearance? Or was he merely another piece in a complicated puzzle? As days turned into weeks and then months, Suzanne's case became the most high-profile missing person story in Colorado. Search teams scoured forests, mountains, and waterways. Specialized boats were even brought in to search local reservoirs. Despite the massive effort, no sign of Suzanne was found. By August 2020, Barry sat down with a major national news outlet. He told them he believed the case had been mishandled and that losing his wife was the most devastating event of his life. His words reached millions. Yet, investigators remained skeptical. 2 months later, detectives finally solved the mystery of the man Suzanne had been secretly involved with. His name was Jeff Libra, a married father of 6 from Michigan. He and Suzanne had first crossed paths casually after high school. But decades went by before she reached out to him again in 2018, shortly after moving to Colorado. Out of the blue, Suzanne sent him a message through social media telling him she missed him. That message reignited a connection that quickly escalated. From then on, they spoke almost daily. After Suzanne's disappearance, Jeff stayed silent at first, but once investigators tracked him down, he agreed to cooperate. He admitted to erasing his social media accounts to hide the affair, not out of guilt over Suzanne's disappearance, but because he feared ruining her memory, losing his own family, and risking his job. Despite the secrecy, Jeff handed over DNA samples, phone records, and even passwords to the deleted accounts. Through those records, investigators pieced together the extent of the relationship. Suzanne had traveled across states to see him. They exchanged intimate photos, spoke of marriage, and even fantasized about leaving the country together for a faraway exotic place. More importantly, Jeff was the last person Suzanne communicated with before vanishing. That fact made him a critical figure in the investigation. On May 9th, the day before she was reported missing, Suzanne and Jeff exchanged 59 messages, far more than usual. She even sent him a selfie while sunbathing. It was the last confirmed image of her alive. That afternoon, the conversation between them grew more intense. At 2 p.m., Suzanne told Jeff she was completely in love with him. Minutes later, he suggested a video call. By 2:11, she wrote that she was ready. Then, at 2:26, a message from Barry appeared on her phone. He told her he was driving back home. No one knows whether Suzanne saw it. She never responded. Barry followed up asking if she had gone out, but again, no reply. Meanwhile, data from Barry's phone revealed something strange. Around that same time, his device showed him moving repeatedly around the perimeter of the house, almost as if he were circling the property. When pressed for an explanation, Barry claimed he had been chasing squirrels, shooting at them because they were a constant nuisance. Investigators found no evidence of gunfire or dead animals. What he thought might have been a harmless excuse instead became a damning piece of evidence. Adding to his problems, Barry gave between 30 and 40 interviews to different investigators without an attorney present. He spoke with everyone from local detectives to FBI agents, exposing himself to inconsistencies. In contrast, Jeff was eventually ruled out as a suspect. His alibi, being in Michigan with his family that weekend, was confirmed beyond doubt. But investigators had more evidence to consider. They uncovered text messages Suzanne had sent to a close friend. In them, she described the turmoil in her marriage. She wrote that Barry didn't want to discuss divorce, that she felt no peace when he was around, and most disturbing, that she did not feel safe when left alone with him. The perfect marriage image was crumbling. With Jeff eliminated from suspicion, Barry quickly became the prime suspect. Detectives confronted him with what they knew about Suzanne's affair, hoping he might break. Instead, Barry insisted his marriage was perfect, refusing to acknowledge any problems. That denial made investigators dig deeper. Soon, they uncovered a deleted text Suzanne had sent Barry just days before she disappeared. In it, she wrote that she was tired, that she no longer cared what he did, but that they needed to resolve things civilly. To detectives, this message revealed a turning point. They believed Suzanne had finally told Barry she was going to leave him, and in that moment, he may have lost control. For investigators, the timing could not be ignored. With Mallory and Macy away on a camping trip that weekend, the house was empty. If Barry wanted to act, that Saturday afternoon offered the perfect window. Time to take revenge, clean up, and ensure no one else would be home to witness it. On May 5th, 2021, nearly a year after Suzanne vanished, authorities made their move. Despite the fact that her body had never been found, the mounting presumption that she had met a violent end led to Barry's arrest. He was charged with murder. Court filings also revealed allegations that he had tampered with physical evidence and even attempted to influence a public official in connection with his wife's presumed death. According to the criminal complaint, the crime was believed to have occurred sometime between May 9th and May 10th, 2020. Barry pleaded not guilty to every charge. In the months following Barry's arrest, investigators conducted extensive searches of the family home and vehicles. The evidence was presented in a public hearing, and a judge scheduled a preliminary hearing for August 2021 to determine if the case should proceed to trial. During that hearing, FBI agents and prosecutors shared startling findings. On May 9th, for some hours, Barry's phone had been in airplane mode. Investigators believed this gap gave him the time he needed to kill Suzanne and cover his tracks. Without phone records, they turned to a newer tool, digital vehicular forensics. By pulling data from Barry's truck, they pieced together a timeline that didn't match his story. While Barry claimed he went to bed around 8 p.m., the truck's computer showed the vehicle being put into reverse at 9:30 p.m. Investigators believe this could have been the moment he loaded Suzanne's body. And although Barry told police he left home around 5:00 a.m. the next morning, vehicle logs show doors opening and closing at 3:30 a.m., suggesting he had started his day much earlier than he admitted. Some records were missing due to data overwriting, but Barry himself filled in the gaps. He explained that while leaving home, he had turned left instead of right because he had spotted a herd of elk and wanted to get a closer look. Investigators found this revelation crucial. That same area was where Suzanne's bicycle helmet had been discovered. They concluded it was likely discarded there around 8:10 a.m. on Mother's Day, when Barry diverted from his usual route. Even more disturbing evidence surfaced. Inside the home, authorities found a dart gun, empty tranquilizer darts, a capsule of tranquilizing substance, and a needle used for injections. Barry's defense attorney argued that it was impossible to know how long those items had been in the house, but prosecutors insisted that Barry may have used a tranquilizer dart against Suzanne on May 9th, knocking her unconscious before killing her. Experts confirm that tranquilizers designed for animals can cause bruising on humans. In a woman of Susan's weight, the effects would have been rapid. Dizziness within minutes, unconsciousness lasting hours, and dangerous breathing difficulties. No functioning tranquilizer rifle was recovered, but Barry admitted to having used such weapons in the past. He explained that he had illegally tranquilized deer in order to saw off their antlers and sell them. In the family's garage, investigators found a collection of deer heads and antlers, lending credibility to that claim. Adding to the suspicion, a sheriff's deputy later testified about Barry's behavior when he returned home on May 10th. Despite the gravity of the situation, Barry did not immediately call police or demand answers. Instead, his calm, almost detached reaction struck investigators as deeply unsettling. Yet the case grew more complicated when prosecutors revealed something unexpected. 3 unidentified DNA samples were found inside the glove compartment of Suzanne's car. One partially matched a man linked to sexual assault cases in other states. The discovery introduced a chilling possibility that someone else entirely could have been involved. Despite these uncertainties, after a grueling hearing, the judge ruled there was probable cause and set the trial for May 2022. In affidavit released at the time, investigators alleged that Barry pursued and controlled Suzanne the same way he once pursued and controlled animals after she told him she wanted a divorce. Suzanne herself had confided that Barry had carried on affairs for years, adding even more weight to her motives for leaving him. Barry spent months behind bars until September 20th, 2021, when he posted a $500,000 bond. He left jail surrounded by his daughters, who stood by his side. Barry refused interviews, but his silence was short-lived. In April 2022, prosecutors shocked the public by moving to dismiss the charges without prejudice, citing the need for more evidence. The judge agreed. Several factors influenced that decision. The absence of Barry's DNA on the empty tranquilizer capsule, the male DNA inside Suzanne's car, which matched neither Barry nor Jeff. This raised the haunting question: had Suzanne fallen prey to a sexual predator? A year later, Barry struck back. He filed a $15 million lawsuit against the agencies that had arrested and jailed him. He also appeared on national television with his daughters, tearfully proclaiming his innocence and declaring his love for both his wife and children. But Barry soon faced separate charges of election fraud for casting a ballot in Suzanne's name. He pleaded guilty and avoided prison through a plea deal. Then in September 2023, everything changed. Suzanne's remains were finally discovered in a remote part of Colorado. Alongside her body were her cycling clothes and a bullet, though it remained unclear whether it had been used. Barry, through his attorney, released a statement saying he and his daughters were devastated as they had held on to faith that Suzanne would one day come back. Months later, in August 2024, the county coroner released the autopsy report. It confirmed that Suzanne's death was the result of violence. She had died under the influence of potent drugs sold as wildlife immobilizers. No signs of physical trauma were present, but the drugs themselves told a grim story. These substances were tranquilizers used for animals. Barry was once again in the crosshairs. He admitted to investigators that he had used those exact drugs to illegally immobilize deer and harvest their antlers for sale. A garage full of trophies backed up his history. Prosecutors argued that the only person in Colorado who had access to these drugs at the time was Barry himself. On June 20th, 2025, Barry was arrested again, this time charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors revealed additional evidence, including surveillance footage of Barry making multiple trips to dumpsters on the morning of May 10, 2020, discarding items believed to be related to tranquilizers. He made 5 trips that day, all while supposedly on a work assignment. Investigators admitted they couldn't determine exactly what he threw away, but the pattern was enough to raise serious suspicion. They also alleged that weeks before Suzanne vanished, Barry had harassed her in an effort to confirm whether she was having an affair, and that he deliberately destroyed evidence of their failing marriage. To obtain the 3 substances found in Suzanne's remains, they noted a prescription was required. Records suggested Barry had secured them years earlier, before moving to Colorado, and that he was the only individual in the state with such access. As of September 2025, Barry awaits trial. After years of twists, doubts, and heartbreak, the case stands on the edge of resolution. The central question remains, will a jury be convinced beyond doubt that Barry murdered his wife? Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you can be the first to hear about such real-life stories.